Hello students, in today's lecture we will be discussing another important term that is related to Internet of Things, that is MANETs, or what we commonly call as mobile ad hoc networks. Mobile ad hoc networks are basically autonomously self-organized networks without a fixed topology. They are wireless, multi-hop and self-configuring networks. Wireless, that is, we don't need typical LANs or routers or any such devices to connect the devices across a MANET. Then multi-hop means that any device can send data to any node across the MANET. Then self-configuring network means that if a device enters into the network or leaves the network, the network will automatically configure itself depending upon the devices connected to that network. So the network won't stop if some device leaves or some device is not working properly. It's each node operates as an end system for and or a router for other nodes in the network and is closely related to the wireless sensor networks. In such a network also that each node act as both router and host at the same time, and all the network nodes that are connected in the MANET are equivalent to each other and can move out or join in the network freely. That is why it is known as a self-configuring network. The mobile nodes that are in the radio range of each other can directly communicate and transfer the necessary information. That is why it is called multi-hop. All the network nodes have a wireless interface to communicate with one another in the range. This kind of network, the network that is mobile ad hoc network, is fully distributed and can work at any place without the help of any fixed infrastructure. What we call as that, we need not have a fixed infrastructure, a fixed topology as access points or base station, because the node itself can act as the host and it itself can act as the router. Moving further, this is an example of a typical MANET. In this figure only itself, it is clear that multiple types of devices can be connected across the MANET, and all these devices need not be big ones with having large configurations and extensive configuration or a complicated configuration. These devices can be simple devices like our cellular phone that only needs to have a capability of connecting to the internet. Then also in this figure, there are two types of MANETs that are clearly visible. The one is mobile ad hoc network, and then there are also mobile ad hoc sensors, which are operating in this network. Now, the mobile ad hoc sensor network has a very sequence of operations, and at the same time, it needs really less complex setup procedure compared to the one that is used in the IoT structure. Now, the various applications of MANET are: number one is military services. Now, military services is one of the most discussed and it is the most common application area of MANET, where, because in this the installation of any fixed infrastructure is not possible due to the enemy terrorist territories or inhospitable areas, right? So it is impossible to have proper lines fixed or LAN wires connected across devices. So MANET is an important thing that is being used in military areas. In this environment, that is in the military environment, MANET provides the required communication mechanism in no time. That is, the soldiers are considered to be the mobile nodes in MANET. So the network that is required to remain connected, even though these soldiers can move freely. This support is provided only and only by the mobile ad hoc network. Also, another application of MANET in this area is that the coordination of the military objects and the personals in the battlefield. They can be have so many equipments to actually fight their enemies, and these equipments require network. So instead, so these this all can operate easily through a simply installed or simply used MANET. Then in emergency services, these arise as a result of natural disasters when the entire communication infrastructure is in disarray. For example, in hurricanes, earthquakes, and etc., where restoring communication is not very easy. Now, by using this type of network, an infrastructure could be set up in hours instead of days or weeks or months required for wire line communications. In emergency services, in cases where there is high rainfalls or there are floods or everywhere, a simple MANET can be installed very easily compared to the one where we need to install all the wires for communication. Then its purpose: MANET in education, universities and the campus settings, virtual classrooms, ad hoc communications during meetings or lectures is only possible via MANETs. Then sensing and gaming. Now sensor network is a very special case of ad hoc network. Now in this sensor networks, mobility is generally not considered. However, the battery power is a key factor in sensors. Each sensor is equipped with what we call as a transceiver, a small microcontroller, and an energy source. Now, these sensors further relay information from one device to another to transport data to a central monitor. Now, these sensors will further use to sense the environmental condition such as temperature, pressure, humidity. Now, in this case, they form an ad hoc network to collect intended information. The mobility can also be incorporated into the sensor network, where they are meant to study the behavior of natural disasters like tornadoes, or study the behavior of patients in hospital. This is how the sensor technology works. Sensors will collect data, they will send it from device to device, and via this network it will be sent to the intended server where it is supposed to get analyzed, and various analytics will be applied to it, and the data will be stored in the correct form that can be further distributed to the other devices. Then comes the personal area networking. These is basically, this include the devices like laptops, mobile phones that can create a network to share data among one another. This also is known as personal area network. Now, this personal network area covers a very short range of communication, and this can be used for ad hoc communication among the devices or for connecting to the backbone network. For example, our cellular phones are connected to the tower. For example, I have a Vodafone. I'm using Vodafone, so my mobile is connecting my internet, or my mobile is connected to the server of Vodafone from where I'm getting the data. Indirectly, it is forming a MANET. Now, moving further, the various characteristics of MANET, characteristics and features of MANET. Number one is wireless medium, the best characteristic of it. This wireless medium now can be used by the nodes to communicate with each other, and they kind of are less reliable, and they are more prone to interference compared to a wired medium. So with the positive thing, there are certain flaws, and certain flaws include that this there will be somehow connectivity issues, that from time to time the device may connect or may disconnect. Then dynamic topologies, since the nodes are allowed to freely move around or move arbitrarily within different speeds. Thus, the network topology is basically can change randomly and at unpredictable times. Then infrastructureless network. Now this network is not depending upon any fixed topology or any fixed configuration for its operation. Then peer-to-peer nature. Now see, in this case, the nodes here are not fixed with a predefined roles. Thus, all the protocols that are required or that are needed to be designed for distributed environment composed of peers and need to be robust enough to handle these distributed dynamic topologies. Now, these different characteristics of wireless ad hoc network require different techniques that then the wired network, especially in the lowermost areas of the what we say TCP/IP suite or IoT architecture, where the data is transferred in the form of bits and there is no typical structure of the data. Then limited computing and energy sources. Now there are limited computing power, memory and disk size due to the limited battery capacity as well as limitation on device size, weight and cost. Now since the executive feature of MANET is that the devices are not very large configured, also they have to utilize their own power source and they are not having a central power to rely upon. So this is the main reason that they will be having a very limiting computing and energy resources. Then limited bandwidth. Now, wireless links continue to have significantly lower capacity than the infrastructure networks. In addition, the realized throughput of these wireless communication after accounting for the effects is much often less than the radio's maximum transmission rate. So they have a very limited range of bandwidth and there will be effects like fading, noise, interference, and there are chances that these effects will be very clearly visible in case of manets. Then the different challenges that are being faced in manets. Number one is routing. As the nodes have a nature of mobility in them, that is from time to time some devices may leave the network. So routing in this case is really difficult. Routing is basically the transfer of data from one node to the other, and in this case it will be a little difficult. Then topology maintenance. Now updating information of dynamic links among nodes in MANET is major challenge because the devices may enter the network at any time or leave the network at any time. Then lack of central infrastructure. Now in this case, that MANET doesn't possess a centralized monitoring authority, and also lack of any central facility decrease the routing efficiency as well as throughput. And also there is not even a central power. So basically the devices are totally mobile in nature. They are independent of the power source, they are independent of the bandwidth, and they don't even have a fixed topology. So kind of this is also a drawback of MANET. Then scalability. Now the nodes that are constrained within the limited battery power, computation capability and storage capacity. Now these nodes will have more problem when the network size will increase. Now, as this network size increase, the number of packets forwarded by each node also increases. Now, this will drain the node resources fast, making it dead for the time being. So I have a node. Now, if that node will continuously keep on sending packets, there is chances that its battery could get used up and it will be totally dead. Similarly, topology maintenance overhead in a scalable dynamic network is another challenging. This will obviously hamper what we call as quality of service. Quality of service basically involves that once a packet is sent to another node, we receive an acknowledgement. And now quality of service will actually suffer because the links are not stable. Then cooperativeness. This implies that the routing algorithm for manets usually assume that the nodes are cooperative and non-malicious. Non-malicious is that is they do not have any threat. Now result that now since they are thinking that there is no chances that the nodes won't be attacked by an attacker, so the malicious attacker can easily become an important routing agent and disrupt the network operation by violating the protocol specification. So it is very much prone to any attack. Then energy efficiency. Now these portable devices, or what we are using as mobile devices, are mostly operated by batteries where lifespan is limited. Now, the nodes in the MANET have to perform the role of an end system. That is, it has to perform a transmitter also and a receiver also, and as well as an intermediate system. That is like it can a particular node can even act as a buffer, which causes more battery drainage. So this is also an important factor in MANETs. Then security and privacy. Now, this mobility of the nodes will impose higher security risks such as peer-to-peer network architecture or shared wireless medium accessible to both legitimate users, and it will also be easily attacked by malicious users. Now, the malicious can anytime enter your devices that he or she can easily enter into your network anytime they wish to and do something that will interrupt all the devices connected across MANET. Then autonomous. Now, since there is no central administration entity is available to manage the operation of two different mobile nodes in MANETs. There is no central authority that is actually governing what is how this MANET has to be working. So these were the challenges, and for in order to have the mobile ad hoc networks work efficiently and very nicely, these challenges has to be overcome, and these challenges are not necessarily be completed in one go. All of these require proper research and proper work so that our manets can be easily deployed in actual usage. Thank you.